And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I had never heard of Venture Forth until I got it from Minion Games, and I looked in the back, and it's a Greek mythology kind of role-playing style game, and I thought, oh, really? I mean, do we really need another one of these? But once I went over the rules and looked at it, I said, it looks different. The board almost looks like Candyland, kind of, sort of, but it's not. In fact, I pulled it out, and one of the guys that played it with said, oh, this is like Talisman. It's not. Let's take a look at it, and then I'll tell you what I think. The game comes with a double-sided board. This is one of the sides. The other side looks very similar with just different pathways, and there are different locations. As actually on this board here, there are 5 locations, and then there are pathways between those locations, sometimes different pathways. You will have an encounter pile here, and players are going to be drawing cards from this encounter pile, and at the very beginning of the game, they are going to pick one of the heroes or one of the adventurers in this pile and put that adventurer in front of them. There's a ton of different adventurers. Each adventurer has a different strength. They're a different type. The strength is usually from 1 to 3, and then each adventurer has a different goal. So you can see here, for example, that the goal for the champion here is to subdue foes. He has to simply defeat an enemy from the wilderness. The messenger's goal is to deliver messages. He has to encounter an adventurer as the last encounter along a path. The herald has to forewarn of danger. He just has to encounter an enemy from the country. Sometimes it's ridiculous, like here's a maiden. Her goal is to visit relatives. She needs to encounter an adventurer from the country. And so they all have different goals. And what you do at the beginning of the game is you're going to take one of these level 1 cards and you're going to place it underneath your character. And this is your adventuring party. Now, as time progresses, you will get more and more adventurers in your party, and they will all start at level 1. Now, as the game progresses, you will often get these cubes here. These white cubes, and you will place these cubes, and this stands for will, and you'll place them on the different characters as you get them. You also will occasionally get negative ones, like the spare, on the different characters. Now, whenever a character does whatever it says for his thing, so for example, let's say the champion defeats a foe, an enemy from the wilderness. At that point, we look at his card here, level 1, and he has 2 options. He can discard any white cube he has for 3 points, or he can discard 2 white cubes to get rid of a despair cube on him, take 4 points, and level up. If he does the leveling up action, then he levels up. Otherwise, the card stays the same. If he levels up, he changes to a level 2. If he meets his goal again, he can spend 2 cubes to get 6 points, or 3 cubes to get rid of a despair cube, 7 points, and level up. When you level up the 3rd time, there will be 3 cards near the side of the board of level 3s, and when you take one that's replaced, and each of these, when you can no longer be leveled up, you can trade in 3 cubes for 9 points, but they also give you a special ability, like this one says Royal. At the end of the game, each of your coins is worth a point. Gregarious, whenever a party ventures from your site, you can move along with them. And they all have different, your other adventurers gain this adventurer's ambition. And so everybody has, you can get a special ability on your characters. Now, how do you get these cubes and so on? Well, that's how the game is played. On your turn, you can take one action. One of your actions, you'll have a hand of 5 cards. One of your actions is to take a card from your hand and place it on the board. Now, when you place a card on the board, you look at the background color. This is a green, so it has to go next to the green location, or next to a green card. So if I had another green card, like this spider is green, I could place it here next to the tracker. So one of the actions is playing cards on the board. And you'll be playing these cards on the board. The cards are of one of 2 types. They're more of these adventurers, or they are monsters. It's really easy to tell the difference. I mean, not to mention it's monster. But the monsters have no text on the bottom of them. When you place a card on the board, you get the reward for that space. So you can see some cards give you a white cube. You put that on one of your adventurers. They give you a gold coin. They give you a coin or a cube. Some of them have this round brown thing on the back. When it happens, you take one of these brown adventure tokens and you turn it over, and you place it on the adventure token spot for that path. So each path has one of these. Now, let's say this path here is finished. When a path is completely filled, someone on either side of it, instead of placing a card as their action, they can travel along the path. When they travel, if they come across an adventurer, they can either ignore the adventurer or they can hire the adventurer. The adventurer costs the amount of their power in gold coins. Oh, by the way, this space that this adventurer is on here gives you 2 white cubes, but everyone else also gets a white cube. So you can go there, but you have to think about that one. If you run across a monster on your path, you have to have a combined power to defeat the monster. If you do not, the monster will deal damage by taking, this one will take a white cube. If you have no white cubes, then you get a despair cube. Some monsters will give a despair cube. Some monsters are vicious and will take 2 cubes or money or so on. If you do have enough strength, you defeat the monster and it's gone. You can always pay a cube on one of your characters to like invigorate that character, and then they will double their power. So you will find yourself often doing that. This is a spider that's only 4, but as the game progresses, you will find that there are bigger and much badder monsters. This is a Hydra that's 10. Then we have, a Sphinx that's an 11. So there's some pretty big, mean, and nasty monsters in there. When you go through, if you hire the adventurer, they come in your party. If you defeat the monster, they're gone. Otherwise, they become what's known as a wandering monster, or wandering adventurer, and they are turned sideways. And then if they are gone over again, then they disappear. Now, a third action that players have, besides placing a card or going along a completed path, is they may use their temple in each location. Each temple has a different thing. This, for example, this temple here lets you trade a coin in to get rid of a despair cube and take a white cube. Over here you can trade a coin in for 2 white cubes. And each one here you can trade a coin in for 2 extra actions on your turn. Each of these has special things that you can do. The game progresses when the last one of these adventure tokens is completed. I forgot to mention that, and it's important. When you go along a path, after you're done, you take the adventure token of that path. Now this adventure token here gives you a despair cube. However, it lets you also draw 3 treasure cards and keep one of them. Yay, there's a whole treasure deck. Now treasure cards are great because they give you a special ability. Like this one here says, if your party is at the shore site, gain 2 coins and 1 point. But you can also keep it at the end of the game for the points up in the corner, which will range from 1 to 4 points. However, to keep one of these cards at the end of the game, you need to have an adventurer that has that matching symbol. Each adventurer can have 1 treasure at the end of the game. So likely at the end of the game you'll have 5 adventurers. You can have up to 5 treasures, then 1 for each person. That will give you extra points. And that's it. At the end of the game, when all those adventuring tokens are gone, whoever has the most points is the winner. You reveal any treasures you might have, and then you just check the point scores, and again, the person with the most is the winner. Okay, I don't love Venture Forth, but I do like it, and it's unique. It's basically a Euro-style game that's a dungeon crawl, well, not a dungeon crawl, a fantasy role-playing game. Because you're getting cubes, and you're using cubes to upgrade your characters, and to get points in different ways, and playing cards, and it was just interesting. I haven't ever played a game that's like it. And I liked the going back and forth. I liked getting my party together. I mean, some of the things were interesting. And each party, their goals, and trying to accomplish the goals, and do the paths that were most efficient for your party, trying to accomplish as many of your goals as you could. And then scoring points with your characters. When it comes down to it, someone who sits there wants to roll dice, and attack, this is not the game for you. This is not about that at all. This is more of a manipulation. Oh, I need to go here and do this so I can get these cubes to convert them into points. And I've been saying that these convert cubes into point games need to get out of the trading in the Mediterranean. I didn't necessarily mean fantasy, but hey, that's what this is, and it works. Maybe not the best theme, and there's a little, discord sometimes between the theme because the monsters, the numbers on how powerful they are sometimes seem a little disproportionate. A giant is 5 and a band of thieves is 6. No, I'd rather fight the band of thieves. But that being said, it is interesting and entertaining. I don't know about the staying power. Well, at 6-7 games will it be as entertaining as it was the first couple. But it certainly is something unique, and I applaud Minion Games for trying something different with Venture Forth.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.